Okay, friends, guests, let's go ahead and get started. We are absolutely thrilled tonight to have Sawyer Hemsley with us. He's up in front. We're going to introduce him in just a minute, but he's an Aggie. It wasn't long ago that he was sitting in seats here at Utah State University, and now he's grown to a major international company with 750 stores around the world. So I think you're going to love hearing from him. Next week is our last lecture in this series. And it's actually our Shark Tank night, which is one of our favorite nights here. We have 6 companies, student companies, that are going to pitch to a panel of judges and potential investors. And it's really, really a fun night. I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. So you can bring friends, roommates, family members with you. And then we're going to honor all the student companies that have hit $50,000 in revenue. Many of them have hit $100,000. So we're going to honor those students. You'll be a chance to see them and hear their stories up on the stage. And then we're going to award some cash prizes to the students that are pitching. So be here next week, 6 o'clock. It's going to be a great evening. What we're going to do tonight, we're going to honor 3 companies that we are very impressed with at our Center for Entrepreneurship. And then Sawyer's going to go ahead and speak with us. So I'm going to turn the time over to our Associate Director, Russell Fisher, for those awards.
So as Mike was talking, next week we have an opportunity to celebrate some incredible student businesses that have been built here at Utah State. These are actively enrolled students. They're doing a lot of the same things that you're doing. You know, they're looking for love, or they're trying to get their majors finished, or they're going to grad school or preparing that, or maybe they're losing love or going to games and so on. But they're doing things at the same time that you are, and they've started these side hustles. Tonight we have Sawyer Hemsley here with us, who has started a business while he was a student. He exemplifies this idea of a student entrepreneur. But tonight we want to talk about, so that's what we're going to be doing next week, and tonight we want to talk about him, but also some other organizations within our Aggie family. So this is the Intermountain Growth Awards. This is part of a community-facing initiative here at Utah State, and with the Intermountain Growth Summit. And we're going to honor 2 businesses and then 1 individual today. Now, the individual, Sawyer Hemsley, who many of you, that's why you came here today, is he exemplifies this idea of a student-started business. He really, with Crumbl, he's changed the landscape of that industry, and that's who we'll end with. But the first one is another side hustle that went big. So, where's Tyler and Alex? Right, it's Alex. We just met. We'll start with a story about a side hustle that kind of went big. So, Tyler Tolson, many of you may have been introduced to him before. Just over 10 years ago, he was the USU student body president. He was not a stranger to big ideas. This communication student had this one idea that he was running on the idea of starting this new rec center for students. I think it was mostly based off the idea that he didn't want creepy faculty and staff where people were working out. I think that was kind of your big thing. Is that right, Tyler? Yeah. And so to me, it reminds me of those middle school class elections where somebody says they're going to get chocolate milk fountains, in the cafeteria. But Tyler actually made it happen. So when he became the student body president, they got it passed through the legislature, a student referendum. And by 2015, we have now the ARC, the Aggie Recreational Center, and that was his idea. But he also was working on 2 businesses at the same time. One was called Parco, which I checked today, only exists on his LinkedIn profile. But the other one was an idea based off this kind of concept of do we have the slides going? We have some slides going that look really classy. Okay, the other one was this idea of what can I do with $100? And so he had this idea that he could just basically buy notebooks, take off the cover, and put a new cover that was more artistic. And this kind of worked out. So through grit and guile, he started this company, and he started selling in farmers markets, and then he got eventually to retail stores. And at last count, they're in over 16,000 locations across the United States. And this was an idea that came with a very simple, what can I do for $100? He works with Nordstrom's, Urban Outfitters, Target, Nike, Disney, Google, TikTok with some of these things. But that's not the only reason why we're honoring Danique Notebooks today. Already recognized as one of Utah's fastest growing companies, this award also points to the fact that Danique is a community-focused organization. Every notebook, every flat book, every hardcover, every spiral-bound notebook that's sold helps to build schools. It helps to support artists and to build schools. And so far, they've built schools in Ghana, in Mali. Let me get the list here. Laos, Guatemala, Ghana, Nicaragua, Mali, and just 3 weeks ago, with the 7th Danique built school, which was finalized in Senegal. And by offering these clean waters and good facilities, a place to be protected from the elements, Danique Notebooks is changing not just the way that people interact with notebooks, which is something that I love, but also with the way that people are interacting with their lives. I'm going to switch to another slide here. This is Ibrahima. Ibrahima is a 7-year-old first grader living in Senegal. He was in this town where they built this school that was just talked about in this just 3 weeks ago. He had limited learning opportunities simply because of the poor classroom. So they just needed a better space. This is what he said. I didn't like to come to school because of the heat in the classroom. It was overcrowded and had too much dust. We used to feel very scared because scorpions used to hide inside the class and they could sting us at any time. It's no wonder that he had a difficult time paying attention to his teacher. But this March, he wrote this note, "Thank you, Danique," because now they have a school that he can go and learn. And he has big ideas and big plans. He loves studying French, and he wants to be the president of Senegal when he gets older. And that is from an organization that cares about the world. So wish to honor Danique tonight, who proves that art can make change a business, but art can also change the world. So we want to honor tonight Danique Notebooks with the Global Impact Award, the 2023 Intermountain Growth Global Impact Award. Come on up. I think they're going to take a picture too. You can get in here too. No, just those two. I didn't know if we had to be in there. We know what this one camera was someone that we hired. I don't know what this guy is doing with his camera here. He just follows Danique wherever they go. Now, the second organization we're talking about, it recently discovered that Crumbl and Danique has interacted with them. The Family Place, who we'll be talking tonight, is a local organization that offers support, education, therapy, even food and shelter for families in Cache Valley. One of the local Crumbl locations gives their excess cookies to the Family Place so they can give them to their students or to the kids that are there. And Danique has also been a sponsor of some of the initiatives that the Family Place has been a part of. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. The Family Place is open to all families in the community. They offer free care. They offer a caring place for children to stay when caregivers need extra support. And it's for people who are in transition, who feel overwhelmed, who are in crisis. They offer emergency support for people who might find themselves without any other options. And the Family Place is a wonderful place where people are able to, or that children especially are able to come to a loving and warm environment. In addition, they offer educational care, mental health care, therapy towards the needs of children and caregivers. Now, I want to talk about some of the things that they've done with a few stories. As I've gotten to know them more and more, the Family Place is really this linchpin organizations that connects all of these philanthropic organizations throughout Cache Valley to support families. And they're an essential part of this community. When the COVID virus came in, I think you can remember that there was a lot of fear and of people, and we didn't know what was going on. A lot of people turned inward. We started separating from one another. We felt isolated and we felt separated as we hunkered down and tried to figure out what was going on. And it caused people, lives were lost, lives were disrupted, and we were changed. Now, the Family Place had a situation where they had to figure out now, what are we going to do? They needed to continue to offer support but they also didn't want to put their employees in a difficult situation and those who were helping them out. And so they came to the decision that they needed to quarantine. They needed to continue to offer support, but anyone who was going to offer the support needed to be there with them. They would be separated from their friends and their connections. And so they offered this to all these people who were working with them, including a lot of USU students, is that correct? And they said, you can choose right now to do what you want to do. You can either choose to go and be with your families, or you can choose to stay here, and we don't know how long this is going to be. And every hand rose that they're going to stay with those students, or those children. And that's the type of organization. There was another experience that I love. There was a refugee who came to our valley, and this refugee was separated from her husband. He hadn't been able to come over yet. She was just about to have a baby and had a young child that needed help day to day. She had no safety net. She had no friends. She had no family. But she found out about the family place, and when she went to ask them, what can I do? I don't know exactly what was said, but I know the words were similar to this. Sister, don't worry about it. We've got your son. Go have that baby. We're going to make him feel home away from home. And that's what they did. They took care of somebody who had nobody else to go to. And that is what the family place is a place that is a warm, comfortable, and welcoming environment for everybody in the valley. And we are so very grateful to honor both Jennifer, Cheryl, and the family place with the Community Cornerstone Award for 2023. Sorry, slides. We had a whole video and everything that Kyler did, and I'll just do this. Okay, we'll go back. Sorry, we don't have it there. All right, we'll just do that. Okay. We didn't have a set slide, it looks like. Come on in. Thanks. Thank you.
Come be in the picture.
Oh, okay. All right, now we're going to go to Sawyer. Sawyer, this has been fun to get to know him more, but I want to let you know that one thing that's been incredible about Sawyer is an impact that he doesn't know he's had. Sawyer, we talked about one thing this last football season. I don't know if you noticed, but he sponsored the football team, but he said in order for him to sponsor the football team, they had to focus on student entrepreneurs. And so there's a number of people who are in this room that we're focused on, and that's a big deal to somebody that's building a new business, and it's very meaningful. The other thing that Crumbl has done is that I want you to consider that half a dozen years ago, or less, I think just 6 years ago now, I think, that he was in a classroom. He and his buddy, just you. I was saying who had the ideas together. But just Sawyer, by himself, no help at all. Just kidding. He had this idea, and it was probably an idea that a lot of people thought, well, that's not very clever or original. But it was something that he, with a lot of hard work, he made it happen. He got together a team, and now Crumbl is an easy brand to talk about. You know, there are hundreds of stores employing thousands of people, and it's changing the way that people are thinking about this type of industry. And but what's helpful for us is we say, Sawyer was a student just a few years ago. There's no reason why you can't do it as well. So for all of you, and for a lot of people, Sawyer has become a Pathfinder, and so we want to honor Sawyer with a 2023 Intermountain Growth Pathfinder Award. First slide. Let me go to the first slide. All right. Come on. Thanks, Sawyer. All right, thanks. Now Emily's going to introduce Sawyer some more.
All right, we are so excited to have Sawyer come to speak with us tonight. I'm just going to read a short bio about him before he starts talking. Originally from Preston, Idaho, Sawyer Hemsley moved to Logan, Utah in 2012 to attend Utah State University. Sawyer has always loved working with people and came from a family that not only loves cookies, but is known for eating them warm right out of the oven every single Sunday. Sawyer's passion for people and cookies led to the beginning of Crumbl Cookies in 2017. A year later, he earned his bachelor's degree at USU in communication studies with minors in marketing and multimedia development. Crumbl started as a family-owned business, co-founded by Sawyer and his cousin, Jason McGowan, as part of a quest to sell the perfect chocolate chip cookie. The first location was opened in Logan, Utah, 5 years ago, and the business has grown to more than 650 locations throughout the U.S. with more than 10,000 employees. So let's give it up and welcome Sawyer, and we can't wait to hear from him.
All right, well, thanks. I'm so excited to be here back at Utah State. I graduated in 2018, and I've missed it ever since. You think that you're excited to get away from college and all the homework, but you miss it. You miss the nostalgia and the friendships and the memories that you make. And I had the best years of my life here on campus. So hopefully you guys are all doing the same and taking the time to just really treasure the moments that you're creating here at the university. So I'm going to talk about Crumbl today, obviously, and my story. Like many of these individuals mentioned, I was here 5 years ago. Crumbl is 5 years young, and it's been crazy because I never thought that my career would be in cookies. I studied communication studies with a dual minor in marketing and multimedia, and I was set to go to Arizona to work in an advertising agency. But I'll get into my story, and I always tell people have low expectations, right? So then I can try to meet your expectation. All right, so I want to start out with just this little clip.
We want to be something that no one else is, and we have the team to do it. When we first started Crumbl, we just did it for fun. I thought it was just going to be something for fun that I was going to do in my last year of college. But when I knew it was real is when Jason came to me and he said, I'm going to leave my career and pursue this cookie journey.
When we've had our first store open, I remember my kids coming up and my daughter's like, Dad, you own a cookie store. And I remember thinking like, I've done some other things in my life, but they were just so proud of this one for some reason. My family really set that kind of feeling inside really early on, like, this actually matters.
I'm sure you can see on Facebook and Instagram how people really get joy out of cookies and how they make awesome memories just from cookies. And that's what Crumbl is all about.
We care deeply about our customers. And the way we show that is by caring deeply about the quality of our food, how our food and our cookies come across, how we display them, how we show them. I mean, it's cookies, it's simple. But people don't realize how complex this concept is. You have a weekly lineup, you tell your bakers across the nation how to make the cookie, and then by the time they get good at it, you're starting over again. From a training perspective, procurement, especially in a post-COVID world, it's complicated.
It's like the best thing and the worst thing. You're never bored, you're always doing something different, but you have to be present and in it all the time.
You might see 3 or 4 or 5 iterations of a flavor. That's okay with us because we're okay with change and we're okay with adapting and we're okay with making it the absolute best cookie in the world.
Ever since I started working here, it's been a different environment for me because something so simple, like just like a box of cookies, can actually make someone's day. I ultimately also just want to see where the company will end up being, like they've made so much progress these last 5 years. I wonder what it's going to look like in 5 more years,
Crumbl plans to not only be a national company, we want to be an international company.
There's a huge opportunity to bring people together even more than we're doing now. So that's how you're going to remember Crumbl 5 or 10 years from now, is the power to bring people together.
So like I said, never imagined my career being in cookies. And as you can see, over the past 5 years, we've grown a ton. We often tell people that we're on a rocket ship. We're building a rocket ship while we're trying to launch it into outer space. And we don't have all the answers all the time. I didn't grow up knowing how to bake. I only just, made cookies every once in a while with my mom or my grandma. But I was determined when we started Crumbl, and I'll get more into that. But we have an amazing team, and you saw that our mission at Crumbl Cookies is bringing people together. Cookie is just that channel and that medium to bring those people together, to create a moment and to share a memory. So let's talk about the history. Back in 2017. So if any of you were around Logan or if you're from Cache Valley, this used to be the old creperie building. Does anyone remember that building? Yeah? Cool. So back in 2017, I was running for student body president. I failed. I lost, unlike Tyler, who won. But previous years before that, I was involved in student government. I ran the student events office and planned all the fun events that you go to currently here at the university. And during that time, when I was uninvolved, I felt like there was a void in my life because I was so involved and that's all I ever knew. And so I knew I wanted to do something. And I have a cousin he actually married my cousin, but we just say he's my cousin because it's easier and it's a better story. Market's better. We had started other businesses prior, and they were just little businesses, mainly my ideas that he just funded and helped me grow. So first of all, it was a t-shirt company. Sold a couple t-shirts, didn't love what I was doing. It's a hard business, retail, having that much inventory and different sizes and things like that. So long story short, he loved the branding because I love to brand and to advertise and build social content. He ended up buying that and he turned it into a ring business, which was super successful. He's an entrepreneur from the get-go too. And something cool about him is he's actually Canadian and he grew up in Canada. And he didn't graduate grade school or high school or even go to college. And my cousin's name is Jason. And this is him. He has 7 kids. Again, married my cousin, but he's my cousin now. But he took on a job. Someone said, hey, do you know how to build a website? And he's like, absolutely. What do you need done? No clue how to build websites or even do any of that. But that's just him. That's his personality. And so he taught himself how to build a website. And from there, he started to learn more and more, and that true entrepreneurship crept into his life. And he ended up working for Nintendo and Facebook and Ancestry.com in product development. And his story is super cool. But anyway, back to 2017, we had started this business. I sold the branding off to him, lost student government race for student body president. And I was visiting him the summer prior to that fall semester. And I said, we need to start something new. I'm going to school, but there's got to be something that we can do to fill this void that I am feeling. And so we came up with the concept of maybe bringing cookies to Logan. Because, we're in this little valley, and that was the time when delivery was just starting to get big. And that's when DoorDash was coming about, and they were passing out DoorDash cards all over campus. And so we said, you know what, let's bring cookies to Logan, but let's make it all about delivery. Let's, find a solution for a problem. And the problem that we saw was, you had a busy mom or you're a college student, and you didn't want to run to the store and buy all these ingredients or make a mess at home, but you still wanted that warm, delicious, yummy cookie that mom used to make out of the oven. And so we said, let's open up shop and do this. He was a little skeptical at first. I was really determined. And so every time I saw a for rent sign in Logan, I would snap a picture of the building and send it to him and be like, this is the spot. We got to open our cookie shop. Let's do it. And he was working for Ancestry at the time doing product development. And he has 7 kids. And so he's like, I don't know if I want to do this. This doesn't make a lot of sense. It could be scary. Who's going to buy cookies? And so it took some convincing. But once I found that the creperie was available, he said, okay, find out how much it's going to be. So I called the landlord, and he said, you know what? This building's going to be torn down in a couple of months. And so we can probably do it for $1,000 a month to month. And so I'm like, that's perfect. No contract, easy out if we fail, not tied down to anything. And I called Jason up and I said, hey, I found a building. It's $1,000 a month. And he's like, that's way too expensive. And so he's like, try to get it down. And so I was able to get it down to $900. And that's when he's like, okay, fine, we'll do it. But Business 101 is you have to have a product or a service before you actually rent the building. I didn't have that. I only rented the building, and then I knew I had to come up with a recipe. So don't follow that. Always have a service or a product first. But that's how we do things at Crumbl. We're not afraid to try things, fail fast and fail hard, adapt and innovate, and move forward. And so that's exactly what we did early on. And this creperie building is hung in all of our stores across the nation. And it's pretty cool to see little Logan, Utah stamped at the bottom that has a little phrase that says, 2 crazy cousins and the perfect combination of butter, sugar, and chocolate chips. Logan, Utah, established 2017. So long story short, what we did is we knew we had to have the world's best cookies, because anyone can go to Walmart or the supermarket and buy dough, right? Pre-made dough that you just pop into the oven and it's easy peasy. Or you can make cookies at home, depending on what your vibe is, right? So we said in order to make this work, we have to have really, really good cookies that people will spend money on. And we have to sell a lot of them to be able to turn a profit. And so what we did is we started working on perfecting the recipe. We networked, we met with food professionals that knew more than we did, watched YouTube videos, we read cookbooks, you name it, we tried it. And so you can see how ugly these first batches looked compared to what you see today, right? This pan that looks like it's been to hell and back is in my mom's kitchen in Little Preston, Idaho. And we learned really fast that baking in a home oven is completely different than baking in a commercial oven. Then we tried to do pre-made pucks, just, shipped into us. And it didn't feel right. And my best friend here at Utah State said, my mom makes the best cookies. She can make the dough, and all you have to do is scoop it after it's been made and it's been thawed out of the fridge and put it in the oven. So this is one of his Snapchats that says, my mom makes some bomb cookies. If you don't have a recipe yet, these are amazing. So we ended up not even trying that because we just didn't feel right about it. So we went back and we started to mix and use different ingredients, pulled different recipes together, and we finally, on this right-hand side, started to come up with the cookie that we loved. And it was a process. In those early days, we used to be in the building. Again, we rented the building, bought all the equipment, and didn't have the cookie perfected. And we were staring down the bowl, and the little paddle that was in the mixer wasn't touching the bottom because it was a huge mixer. And we quickly learned that we had to quadruple the batch to even get it to mix properly. But lots of different ingredients, brands of ingredients, techniques. It was a process. So we finally figured that out, and we started to go ham on this building. And again, we didn't have any money because we didn't really want to put too much into it because we didn't know if it was going to work out. I think we started with $10,000. And we just had to find used equipment, and we did the build out of the store all by ourselves. So you can see us painting the floor, and this was down by the river, Logan River, and so we found mice in the walls, and it was kind of grody. So cleaned it all up and got it into shape. One problem we had, though, is the oven wouldn't fit through the door. And so we're like, what are we going to do? Are we going to have to take out the window? Are we going to have to rebuild the front of the store? Long story short, we took off the doors and squoze it into the door, and it happened to fit, and it was a relief. But it was a family effort. These were my parents. My mom was actually supposed to be involved in the early days. And she's like, no, I can't do it. I got to spend time with my grandkids. And she quickly regretted that after our first couple hundred stores. But she did know early on that she still wanted to be a part of it in some way. So they ended up being our first franchise partners in Bountiful, Utah. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But this is what our dough pucks used to look like. They're super big, nothing like what we do now. And a lot of trial and error happened in these early days. We didn't have any supply chain or vendor management systems in place. We went to Sam's Club to buy everything. And Sam's Club knew us well. When we'd run out of butter, we'd call them early in the mornings when they weren't open, and they would open their doors and sell us butter. So lots of good memories there. I used to run all the social media back in the day. Wasn't the best. I was still learning. This is a video I put together. I just want to show you kind of what our first store looked like in our humble beginnings. And don't judge my videography, okay? So that was our first logo that we had. Our first branding, we used to use those ugly boxes. But I ended up using the boxes we have today based on a Huntsman Marketing Association case competition. And they helped us figure out our elongated boxes. So we love working with Utah State, and we're grateful for them. But back in this day, I forgot to tell you a little story I wanted to mention, is when we were trial testing all of these different doughs and these techniques, we would throw out a lot of dough. And so we'd be there late at night, and we'd put all this dough in these big black bags, and me and my cousin Jason would have to shimmy these black bags out and heave them over the garbage, just because they were so full. And we used to call them dead body bags of dough. And so we oftentimes wondered if the cars thought we were throwing over a dead body into the garbage. But lots of good times. So semi-sweet and milk chocolate chip was a huge ordeal when we first started. Who's a semi-sweet lover in here? How about milk chocolate? Okay, see, it's half and half. Semi-sweet lovers, though, have the loudest voices. You can see that online. And it's interesting. The western states like milk chocolate a little bit more, and over on the eastern side, they like semi. So little tip, no one knows this, but we're going to start rotating semi-sweet and milk chocolate every other week. So if you're a Crumbler, you'll get that option. So super exciting. That's hitting stores in July. But we always wanted to use data to make our decisions early on. Jason's a huge tech guy, big data analyst guy. And so I said, you know what, let's just do a quick Twitter poll. We all know that Utah State is huge on Twitter, and it was back then. I'm sure it's even bigger now. And milk chocolate ended up winning that Twitter poll. And so that's how we based our decision on what chocolate we would use. We ended up opening the store, again, scared to death that no one would show up in Little Logan, Utah. Only advertised on my own personal social platform. And I think Herald Journal was an article that we ran. And the newspaper is powerful in Cache Valley. Don't take that for granted. And we ended up having a successful opening. We didn't know what we were doing, seriously. Like, these boxes didn't have grease liners in them, and we would just put the cookies in them, and the butter would seep through the bottom, and it was just so bad. So bad. But again, a lot of trial and error, and that's entrepreneurship. It's just figuring it out as you go, you know? But this was our line. We had a lot of support, and we were so lucky that Logan, Utah came out. And that's why Logan and Utah State is such a big part of our story. And that's why we love to share it with the world that here in Logan, Utah, we started Crumbl Cookies. In the early days, we only offered chocolate chip. We didn't think that we would ever have a rotating menu or more cookies than the chocolate chip. But we listened to our customers. And as an entrepreneur, the most important thing to do is listen to your customer. If they're not happy, they won't show up and purchase cookies. And so we ended up doing our pink sugar, and this quality control right here is just a nightmare. But again, not knowing a ton and looking back at the past, we've definitely improved. And then we used to be open till 2 a.m. We're only open till 12 on weekends, 10 p.m. on weekdays. But 2 a.m. because we were in a college town, and we thought college students are up at the wee hours, and they're studying, and they're going to come and eat cookies. And so our first flavor that we ever came out with was this Midnight Mint. And the reason why it's called Midnight Mint is because we only offered it after midnight. And that's kind of where our new selection of flavors started to come. This was our early rotation of a calendar. We used to do one new flavor every day. You can see Midnight Mint on Monday, Cranberry Vanilla on Tuesday, and this is my horrible social media back in the day. But this is how we used to advertise. We also experimented with different product offerings, and we tried these little minis. They were a nightmare because they'd take forever to make, and we would always run out of inventory because they moved really fast. And so we decided not to do that. Some of our older customers were wanting us to do single cookies because we used to only sell our cookies by a 4-pack because that's the only way we thought we'd be able to turn a profit is to sell these cookie boxes by the 4. And we would really get a lot of mad customers when they would find out that we didn't sell single cookies. They would walk out of the store. So we had a huddle and we said, you know what, we need to offer single cookies so we can, capture more of our audience. And so we did, and it happened to be a great decision. You can see that our rotating menu has transpired over the course of our inception. So we used to do every flavor Friday. So you saw that we did the flavors one day a week. And then we had them all on the same day on Friday. It was a crazy time, those Fridays, especially being a weekend and everyone out and about. But it was good. A lot of people came in, and that's where we captured even more audience and grew our business. So the breaking point of figuring out process and operations was during our first opening of our first franchise in Bountiful, Utah. And we were offering all flavors at that point. We did away with the flavor every day during the week, one new flavor every day. And we were offering, I think, like 8 or 9 different flavors every day. And I remember my mom, after the end of the second night, broke down and started crying, and she's like, you guys can't leave. I can't do this by myself. Her and my dad were having a really tough time because that was the crowd every day in that picture. And we were just constantly running out of cookies. And so we said, we have to figure out a plan. And so we did another team huddle, and we said, you know what, let's rotate 4 flavors and keep our two staples, which was our milk chocolate chip and our pink classic sugar cookie. And that's what we did, and that's where our rotating menu came to be. And that really makes us stand out from our competitors, is our rotating menu. And it's something that has been a journey to kind of come to life. So I won't even go over these facts because they're outdated. They didn't update these for me, but we have over 275 flavors, if not more. Tons of flavors, and how we pull our inspiration for these cookies is based on nostalgic goods, whether that be a hard candy, a candy bar, a brownie, a cupcake or a cake, maybe a Little Debbie. Whatever we can try to make into a cookie, we will. And so it's kind of fun to see all these fun, nostalgic flavors that people can connect to and tie a memory back to. These are all outdated, but we go through so many eggs and so many chocolate chips. Oftentimes, we've ran manufacturers out of product. So you would think that like Oreo and Sour Patch has all this inventory, but when we had run some of these cookies, they said, we just simply cannot keep up with your volume. We can't support you. And so we had to figure out, and we had to start planning our cookie calendar months and months in advance so these manufacturers could keep up with our demand. So early on, in the first 6 months of our inception, we had 2 stores, Logan store and then our first Bountiful franchise. And at this point in time, we thought, we're only going to stay in Utah, and we're only going to franchise to friends and family. And really, we only franchised because a lot of friends and family wanted to be involved. And so we said, okay, we're just going to make this a Utah thing. Then more friends and family wanted to be involved. And it's kind of funny because when we first started, all of these friends and family said, you're crazy. What are you doing? This is really dumb. No one's going to buy cookies. And guess who owns stores now? All of those people, So it's kind of funny to say, hey, you like cookies now? And it's fun because all of my family, I never thought I would be able to say this, but all of my uncles and aunts and my parents and my siblings and friends, they all own stores, and they've all, stepped away from their careers to run a cookie shop. And it's been really inspiring and really awesome to be able to work alongside them. So in 12 months of inception, we had 9 stores in Utah. Then we quickly expanded outside of the state of Utah. And we never actively sold a franchise. We never promoted it. We never marketed it. We only had it on our website. And people came to us, and it was all word of mouth and a little bit of social media. A lot of organic marketing, which was awesome. And then we started to grow even more. You see us creeping over to the other side of the nation. And then by 30 months, we were 127 locations. And so that's kind of how we started, right? And we started to grow a ton of crew members. We have thousands upon thousands of crew members that work for Crumbl each and every day. And it's been so fun to see the growth. Never would have imagined, again, being a founder of a cookie shop. So a couple of pictures here. We started our first HQ. I always begged Jason to let us hire some more people. And we only hired people after the first year of operation. So when we had those 16 stores, it was just me and Jason running everything, wearing all the hats. And that's what you do as an entrepreneur. You can only grow as fast as your profit comes in. And you want to be safe, right? Something that we're super proud of at Crumbl is we're a bootstrapped company. And we were able to pay off all of our bills as they came in, and we didn't have to take on any investors. And so lucky for us, we're debt-free, and it's been awesome to be able to grow this into an international company with no debt. So it's doable, right? But going back to our first HQ employee, after the first year, we finally hired one, and we converted an old closet into our HQ office. And it was in our Orem store down in Orem, and we slowly started to grow our employees, and then we ended up transforming that store into our HQ as we got more and more HQ employees, moved our storefront next door. And then our sign, always when we move buildings, because we're growing, is when we start to see what we call a cafe bathroom. And when bistro tables get put up outside of the bathroom, that's our sign that we have to move into a bigger building. And that's happened twice. And so this is our current building down in Pleasant Grove. We've landed there. And I think this is a video that will kind of give you a glimpse.
Okay, let's get this started. She's a total knockout, but I'm still in the ring. Nah, I ain't gonna lay low. You the crown at the top with a halo. I'ma give you those love, make you say whoa. Got the treasure, you can call me the king. So nice to meet ya, my mamacita. We could ride out in my two-seater. I got a fever, so sick I need ya. Burning up like the sun, yeah, she's a heater. So nice to meet ya. Okay, let's get this started. What you said, I think it's nice to meet ya. My mamacita. We could ride out in my two-seater. I got a fever, so sick I need ya. Burning up like the sun, yeah, she's a heater. So nice to meet ya.
Yeah, so that is all of our franchise partners and a little bit of the inside of our HQ. We recently had an owners conference, and out of 48 states, there's only 2 states that we're not in, and we are in Alaska and Hawaii. There's some pickler states in the middle of the country that we just still don't have any stores. But they come from all over, and we learn from each other, and it's so fun. We only own one corporate store, and all of the rest are franchise-owned, and we have the best people that really have built our Crumbl family. So it's been awesome. Obviously, our marketing has changed from the early days, from that really bad video that I made. We were able to hire a couple of videographers and infuse our vision into their minds with their creativity. So this is a little bit of a showcase of where we've now come with our marketing videography. Way different, huh? So, just lots of growth, lots of learning. One thing that we often say is, that a lot of people don't know is we're actually a technology company, even sometimes more than we are a cookie company. So early on, we knew we had to use technology to grow our business. And when we decided we were going to grow to multiple locations across the country, we changed our mindset and we said, we have to have a mindset where all we think about is whatever process we create or technology we build, we have to be able to scale it to thousands of stores. And so we did that from the early days, and we've been able to build a lot of our in-house technology. Currently, our Crumbl Cookies app has been in the top 5 of the food and beverage apps downloaded on the iOS store for many months. We're up there with McDonald's, DoorDash, Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, you name it. It's been really cool, and that's driven by app downloads. And we built our own app, and we've integrated our own POS system because it's allowed us to drive costs for our franchise partners down. We've built recipe apps, and we've built intercommunication apps that we communicate with our franchise partners through. And so every technology piece that we have has been built by our in-house technology team. One of our largest teams is a group of engineers. And you wouldn't probably think that, but it's awesome to see what they've been building. I'll give you a little hint, but we're coming out with what we're calling Cookie Journal on April 17th. And so everyone will be able to rate cookies in a cookie journal and give us real-time data on what their favorite cookies are, how they feel about a particular cookie, how they feel about the taste, texture, appearance. And it's also going to give us a way for them to connect with each other and build a cookie community. So lots of cool technology has been built throughout the years, and many more cool technology pieces to come. There was another thing I was going to say, but I forgot. Recently, our growth, we've expanded into Canada. So Jason is Canadian. I call him my cousin, but he married my cousin. So it's just easier, again, like I said, to call him my cousin. But he's from Canada, and so it was natural to say, we're going to grow into Canada. And we recently opened our store in Alberta, in a little town called Edmonton. Not that little, has about 1 million people. But it was our biggest opening yet, and the line, I don't know why people would stand in line for cookies. Obviously, I'm biased. I love our cookies. But the line wrapped around, I think, 2 blocks. I wish I had the video. Maybe you'll see some of it in one of these videos later on. But it was crazy. And it was crazy to see how welcoming a new country received Crumbl Cookies. So this is a little VIP event that we had up in Canada. And it was a great way to start and kickstart Crumbl Cookies Canada. Yeah, so we had a cool activation that we did throughout our opening, and to build hype and excitement is we made life-size museum art cookies, and we placed them all over the town, and we gave out cookies at each of those art pieces and installations to build hype. And it was just incredible to see us build a social platform in Canada in 3 weeks from 0 followers to now almost 20K. So it's marketing works, think outside of the box, and get product in people's hands, because that's really what's going to drive people to keep purchasing. Here's another little hype video about Canada. Really fun. Really want to play it really fast. So one thing we try to focus on at Crumbl is what is the experience that a customer has? What are the smells? What are the visuals? You know, what are the thoughts that they have? And that's something that we think about every day, all day long. Another thing that I learned here at Utah State University, has anyone taken the marketing course from Professor Schultz? Yeah? If you always hear him say, be different, better, and special. Who's heard that? All right. Okay. Well, that's never left my mind. And in every meeting that we have and in every project that we do, we say, how is this going to make us different, better, and special? And I think that's important for any entrepreneur to grasp onto and really live. A couple of fun collaborations that we've done is, have you ever played Cover Your Assets? So we partnered with them and did Cover Your Cookies. And the reason we did this is because we wanted to bring people together, families, friends, over a setting, and you can do that through games. And so they have our cookies on them and our logo and our branding, and it's been a fun launch. I actually have a couple games that I'll hand out after, so if you want one, first one to come up here, I'll give you one. I think I have like 10 of them. But that was super fun. We did a partnership with the Jazz, and we are the official cookie of the Jazz, and it's been fun to have a Crumbl crew out there giving out cookies every game. And then Michael Buffer, the one that is known for, let's get ready to rumble. We made a video and a promotion, and he says, let's get ready to crumble. And so it's pretty fun, and he's a fun guy. He doesn't eat cookies. He's really health conscious, but he did eat our cookies. So we were super pleased with that. But it's opened the door. Crumbl Cookies has opened the door to a lot of fun opportunities where we're not the ones seeking out those opportunities anymore. People are coming to us, and it's just been really special to see. But the best thing, like I said, for me is that I've been able to work alongside my family. And I would never have thought that I would be working alongside my parents or, my brothers and sisters. But it's really changed a lot of people's lives. And that's been something really special to me and Jason, is that we've been able to bring people together that have all different backgrounds. We have doctors, dentists, lawyers. We have a husband and wife that just want to do more together and spend more time together. And they've all stepped away from what they were doing in previous years to take on this cookie journey with us, and they loved it. Cookies really help people smile. They create those moments that are that they'll treasure for the rest of their lives. And so, super excited. These are the Hemsleys, so if you ever see them around Cache Valley, make sure you say hi. So thank you so much. That's a little about the Crumbl story. So we have a couple of minutes to do some Q&A. And I didn't obviously go into too much detail, so if you have questions on a topic that maybe I didn't touch, feel free to ask away, and I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. Let's start up here.
First off, you're amazing. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
So when you started, it feels like it was a time when cupcakes were kind of popular and soda was really popular, but you broke through really well. What kind of people or factors or other resources did you have that gave you an advantage to kind of break ahead of all of that competition?
Yeah. So the question that was asked is, what really helped us stand out from the competition? Because cupcakes were really big during the time of our inception and other soda shops. And I think the biggest thing for us, this may sound cheesy, but we really wanted to focus on us. We wanted to keep a side eye on our competition, but we wanted to make sure that our experience was the best it possibly could be. And so that's why, and we were truly shocked. We thought that delivery was going to be a huge factor into our sales, but it actually ended up flip-flopping, and we had 80% of our sales in store versus the 20% of delivery. And the reason why people loved coming to Crumbl is because we created an experience. And we had an open kitchen concept, and you could smell the cookies when you walked in. You could see us cracking the eggs, and it was just so special. You could see that human element to the brand. And so that was one thing I would say is we focused on ourselves, and we tried to be the best that we could be. Yeah, so the question was, how is franchising? And then how have you been able to build a franchising community and still maintaining consistency and compliance? So I used to think I wanted to work with people coming out of college. My mind has changed a little bit since that time because everyone has a different opinion and a different idea of how things should be ran. But what we did is we decided to really set a solid foundation through training and through what we call an ops manual. And so what we did is we spent time in our stores ourselves. We did all of the stations and the roles that you find in a store so that we could understand what our franchise partners would have to go through. So me and Jason, we used to be bakers and drivers, and we did the cleaning and anything in the store, you name it, we did, because we didn't want to tell anyone else to do something that we weren't willing to do ourselves or that we didn't understand how to do. And so setting up the foundation through process and training was crucial. And then sometimes you just have to learn to say no. Like, this is our vision. This is how we see us succeeding. And so a lot of the times I had to be just not mean, but direct and straightforward, especially when it came to branding. When you go into franchising and everyone wants to make flyers and posters and brand everything. And so we really made sure we created rules and regulations that had to be followed. And so that's how I believe we were successful, not only with operations, but with the branding portion. And we put together a team called the compliance team that was consistently watching our stores to make sure they were meeting expectation and standards. So right here in the maroon shirt. How did I balance family relationships with the business relationships? Time. It took a long time. It was weird. My mom and dad didn't want to do anything that I asked them to do because my dad always thinks he knows better. But through time and through consistency of me just saying, hey, this is why we do this, and I made sure that I explained, I can't tell other people to do something and allow you to do something else. And just through effective communication and leading through example and just being patient, we were able to work through a lot of those pain points. But it was hard. It was definitely hard to establish roles between family. And we actually had to force ourselves not to talk about Crumbl at home because it often ended in dramatic conversations and opinions. And so now we have a Crumbl chat text message and a family chat message, and we keep them separate. So a little bit of that for you.
So with branching out, what does it look like with opening so many different buildings? Because I know, like, if you're going all over the country, and if you're staying in Utah, you have to manage so much. What did it look like for you looking at different businesses, finding where to buy it, where's the best place? Like, how did you?
Yeah, so we asked, how did we know where to open our locations and our franchises? And so what we did is we figured out where's our target demographic? Who is our target demographic? And who we were going after was the soccer mom. We knew that the soccer moms were looking for something easy. We wanted to give them time to be able to spend with their families and not have to go to the store, buy groceries, make a mess, but they could pick up something convenient on the way home from work or school to share with their family. So that was the reason why we opened. But how we picked our locations is we said, where do moms go on a consistent basis? Grocery store, right? Target, Costco. So early on, we said we need to put our stores where our moms are going, sometimes on a weekly basis, if not once a month. And so that's how we started placing our locations. And now we use AI to tell us exactly where to place our locations depending on demographic, salary, trade areas, and other various nuances. So great question. Any other? Right here in the black hat. How has my perspective of life changed since being in college and jumping into a career? It's changed a lot. I have had to learn a lot over the years because I definitely wasn't the best leader starting Crumbl. I was very micromanagey. I felt like only I could do certain things, and if anyone else touched it, it wouldn't be the right way. And I would get really uptight because this was my baby. And so whenever I read a bad review or I saw a franchise partner out of line, I would kind of react. And so over the years, my perspective has changed based on trying to seek understanding before I react. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but a lot of these people just need to be taught or be educated or simply just have a proper channel of communication. And so my perception has changed on my leadership style, how I communicate, and helping someone work through their problems on their own. I have to kind of let them fail in order for them to succeed. Great question. Yeah, so our legal team gets to do all of that fun stuff, and they get to fill out all the paperwork and the franchise documents, and they get to build and write what's called a franchise FDD, franchise disclosure document. So we don't have to do a lot ourselves, which is super nice. We hire people that are better than ourselves, that know all the rules and regulations in different countries, and we now have a team, aside from our legal team, called the growth team, and that's all I do all day long is research and figure out new markets and rules and regulations in order for us to grow in that market. Great question. One more question. Right here. Daily routine. Well, it's definitely not as fun as it used to be, and someone asked me this earlier, but I typically go to work. I have my morning routine aside from work. And if I don't do that morning routine, I feel like my whole day's kind of off. But as I get to work, I look at my calendar. I see the meetings that I have to go to. And my job has changed recently from October. I used to be the COO of Crumbl, but we brought in a Chick-fil-A executive that has taken over that role, and I've moved over to just oversee the branding. And under the branding wing at Crumbl, we have the menu side of things. We have marketing. We have PR, and then creative. So all the visuals, all the product offerings, and the experience, I get to oversee. So I typically have a meeting that involves one of those teams. I meet with my leaders on a weekly basis in one-on-ones every Tuesday. And then every day at 3 p.m., I get to taste test cookies by the sliver, or I'd be really chubby by now. But that's my favorite part of the day, and we love our daily routine. One thing that we've tried to implement is no meeting Wednesdays so that we can actually try to be creative and work on special projects. So you'll have to come visit. If anyone wants a tour, we're just located in Pleasant Grove, and we'd love to host you and show you the inner workings of Crumbl HQ. So thanks again, you guys.